All right, in this first example, we're being asked, how can you find the solution of the equation x minus 9 times 5x plus 2 equals 0? So this is factored form. We just, in our vocab, talked about factored form. What factored form gives us is one factor times another factor. And we can see that the product, the multiplication of those two factors, is equal to 0. So we can apply that zero product property. If you are multiplying two things together and you get 0 as an answer, that means one of the things you're multiplying with must be equal to 0. So to use the zero product property, what we do is we take each factor. So our first factor is x minus 9, and we set it equal to 0. The other factor is 5x plus 2, and we set it equal to 0. Now we have two equations that are going to be pretty straightforward to solve. We'll add 9 to both sides here, so we are getting x is a positive 9. On this one, because of the 5 in front of the x, this will be a two-step equation. It also means we will likely have a fraction for our answer. So we'll subtract 2. We get 5x equals negative 2. Divide by 5, and x equals negative 2/5. So I'm just going to add that over here, negative 2/5. So we just solved an equation from factored form by using that zero product property. So from factored form, you just set your factors equal to 0, because if they're multiplying together to equal 0, that means one or both equal 0, so we get both equations and we solve. Not too bad, right? All right, well, let's try another one. Here we have an equation, 2x minus 1 times x plus 3 equals 0. So we have factored form. So let's go ahead and take each factor and set them equal to 0 separately. 2x minus 1 equals 0, x plus 3 equals 0, and then we solve each equation. We'll add 1. Again, this one had the 2 with the x, so I can predict a fraction will show up, but we like fractions. So x equals 1/2. Over here, just a one step, we'll subtract 3. 0 minus 3 is negative 3, and we get a negative 3 for our second solution. I didn't talk about this on this first problem up here, but what would happen if we were to plug a 9 in for your x's? Well, this factor, 5 times 9 is 45. 45 plus 2 is 47. Great, but here's where we see that zero product property. If I plug in a 9 right here, I have 9 minus 9. 9 minus 9 is 0. And 0 times whatever we have over here is how we're getting that 0 right there. Same thing, if you were to plug the negative 2/5 in for both x's, negative 2/5 minus 9, something, right? But if you plug it in here, 5 times negative 2/5 is a negative 2, and negative 2 plus 2 is 0. And when this factor has a value of 0, when it gets multiplied by whatever the other factor was, that's how we're getting that 0. So we talked through the check without actually doing the check, and I think that's okay. All right, part B. We have factored form, so set each factor equal to 0. By the way, this equals 0 in our equation is key. We do have to make sure that our equation equals 0 for us to use the zero product property. So 2x plus 3 equals 0. 3x minus 1 equals 0. Do you guys think we're going to have any fractions on these? This 2 in front of the x will likely give us a fraction, and the 3 in front of the x also. So I think I'm just pointing that out so that we're not thrown off. You know, sometimes we get weird looking answers and we think we've made a mistake. But if you know that you're most likely going to get a little bit of a different looking answer, then we don't really have to question the math we're doing, because we know how to solve these equations. You guys are good at solving these. So we got a negative 3/2 and then a positive 1/3. And that's how you use the zero product property to solve an equation from factored form.